3 spine-chilling true encounters of being watched, sinister secrets finally revealed. Lisa's nights were seldom filled with peace. In her quiet suburban home in Illinois, where the small streets twisted like whispers, she hunched over her laptop, her fingers clattering against the keys as shadows flickered in the corners of her mind. Emily, her precious little girl, slept soundly upstairs, unaware of the suffocating dread that crept through the house. Each time the wind howled around her, Lisa felt a predatory gaze lingering upon her, watching every keystroke, every breath. It was as if Mr. Thompson, the neighbor with an unsettling smile and eyes that seemed to bore into her soul, was hiding in the shadows, ready to spring forth and consume her fears. She often sensed his unseen presence, lurking, waiting. One morning, sunlight danced over the dew-soaked grass, but the warmth it brought did little to thaw Lisa's anxiety. Stepping outside with a determined heart, she found Emily's favorite stuffed bear sitting on the porch, its button eyes glinting like dark secrets. Chills cascaded down her spine. How had it ended up there? She shook off her instincts, convincing herself it must have been carried out during a storm. Yet day by day, the unease grew, feeling more tangible than the air she breathed. Scrolling through a local news app soon proved catastrophic. The headline blared tales of disappearances within the community, each report chillingly close to home. Reports buried in familiar names pinned to Mr. Thompson's neighborhood made her stomach churn. Why were the police so uninterested? Her heart raced as she shook her head, in disbelief over the apathy that wrapped around her idyllic town. It felt like they were burying themselves in comfortable ignorance. That night, she decided to run and escape, perhaps. She paced the streets, searching for solace but finding none. It was then that she saw movement. A shadow, half hidden by overgrown bushes, watching her, calculating. Panic gripped her, but she found herself moving forward, pushing against the fear knitted tightly around her throat. But just as she was about to confront whatever it was, it vanished, leaving her alone to the echo of her pounding heart. Determined to shield her daughter from some lurking horror, Lisa marched to the police station the next day, but met only fake concern and a cavalcade of excuses. Their blatant indifference made her blood simmer. "Wake up," she wanted to scream. Complacency seeped into their veins, an invitation for malevolence, and that notion gripped her tighter than ever. The fear escalated. She could almost taste it. Returning home, she dove into her research, unraveling webbed local legends about the Watcher, an entity lurking, feasting on unsuspecting families, rooted deep in her town's tainted history. The whispers of old sins echoed through the pages she read. Trembling, Lisa found herself stepping into Mr. Thompson's yard, the sun casting long shadows, and a visceral dread crashed over her. His demeanor slithered from friendly neighbor to something more terrible, his words coated with veiled threats and sinister innuendos. "You should really keep your doors locked at night, Lisa. You never know who's watching." The words pierced through her, and shivers cascaded down her arms as she forced herself to back away. That's when she noticed it, a dark silhouette slipping into the shadows a street away. The world spun, revealing just how close she was to the edge. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, as fear morphed into relentless terror. Lisa dashed back home, her mind racing. What had she unwittingly uncovered? Had the Watcher already set their sights on Emily? As the night drew near, shadows grew longer in her home, the world outside unraveling into dark corners. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind outside her window, sent her heart racing. Was it too late to shield her daughter from the malevolence that had seeped into her life? What secrets lay ahead, waiting in the darkness? The night wrapped around Lisa like a suffocating veil. Every flicker of her old lamp cast eerie shadows that danced and twisted, heightening her already frayed nerves. She clutched the countertop, gripping it like a lifeline as she peered into the dim hallway. Silence was thick, almost mocking. Was it her imagination, or could she sense a presence, threading through the stillness? Emily! She whispered harshly, panic flooding her. She rushed upstairs, breathless, her heart pounding like a drum in her ears. In the baby monitor, soft sounds dribbled into the air, the sweet sniffles of her child in dreamland. Relief flooded her, but it was short-lived. Hadn't she just read that the Watcher was drawn to the innocent? Gone were the days when a mother could let her guard down. Lisa grabbed her phone and began scrolling through the disturbing tales she had unearthed. A collection of ominous warnings came rushing back to her. The local folklore spoke of an ancient evil. There were whispers of a figure that chose the vulnerable, struck at night, when sleep dulled the senses. It was a specter born of despair, waiting for a chance to pounce. Lisa knew she couldn't ignore it any longer. She returned to the living room with fierce intent, her fingers racing over the keyboard as she searched for anything that could offer her a clue or a weapon. But the screen only displayed more terrors: missing children, dark shadows caught in the corners of security footage, stories woven with fear. Each tale felt like a tether pulling her closer to a nightmare. And then it happened. It was subtle at first. A soft knock echoed from the back door, sending chills rippling down her spine. She froze, holding her breath. Just the wind, she murmured to herself. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. Another knock, this time sharper and more aggressive. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling. Silence. Lisa crept carefully towards the door, heart hammering in her chest. She hesitated, gripping the handle with sweaty palms. Should she peek? Even as her instincts screamed at her to run, she couldn't force herself to withdraw. She had to know. With a deep breath, she swung the door open. No one. Just darkness slinking away into the night. The porch light flickered, revealing nothing but an empty expanse, but then she looked down. Emily's stuffed bear sat there, its button eyes gleaming in the pale light. Her breath hitched. How had it gotten out here again? This was madness. Panic clawed at her throat. Lisa quickly snatched it up, her mind racing back to the warning Mr. Thompson had so casually delivered. Had this all been a game? Did he watch, waiting for the right moment to strike? Suddenly, the tension snapped. A noise erupted from the backyard, a rustling. She whirled around, blood pounding in her ears. It was all wrong. Nothing should be lurking in there. With courage fueling her, she snatched a flashlight from a drawer and creaked open the back door once more, the beam cutting through the dark, trembling light spilling ahead. But the night was still like a void, drawing her in with an insatiable hunger. Emily! Stay upstairs! She called back, her voice a warm tether across the chilling night. She stepped forward, dread welling up within her, just as a shadow darted past her in the corner of her eye. And again. Was she going mad? Everything in her screamed to retreat, the fear lapping at her like a sharp wave. The darkness around her whispered secrets, wrapping around her limbs as she pressed further into the yard, heart racing, light trembling as she tracked the moving shadow. Before she could even digest the reality of what was happening, her flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into an ocean of blackness. "Who's there?" she whispered, barely more than a breath. The stillness was mocking. When something whispered back, chilling her down to the bone, she finally understood there was no escape. Next door, the glow of a darkened window fell on her like a shroud, but Mr. Thompson didn't show. A wave of recognition trickled through her mind. She wasn't alone in this nightmare. The connective thread of terrified eyes, now she saw it all too clearly. Lisa's heart raced anew. What was lurking just outside her reach? Had the Watcher already begun? The echoes of countless stories tied this town in sinister knots, their threads lacing around her family with each careful whisper. As her ears strained into the night for the next sound, a new realization dawned. If it wasn't just the Watcher they should fear, but perhaps the ones they thought they knew what waited in the dark was looking straight back at them. The air grew thick with dread, wrapping Lisa in an icy grip. The whisper that answered her seemed to curl around her thoughts, squeezing until her breath caught in her throat. Her mind raced. Was it her imagination, a figment conjured by fear? Or was it something much worse? She steadied herself, her eyes darting around in the pitch-black backyard. The flashlight was dead, but she swore she could feel a gaze lingering, like hands gripping her wrists. Memories flooded back, stories of children vanishing into thin air. A mother's worst nightmare. Each tale felt like a voice calling her back to reality, urging her to run. A rustling again, louder this time, echoing like a heartbeat in the silence. She took a step backward, her pulse a frantic drum. Should she flee? Or confront whatever lay hidden in the dark? Emily. Her voice broke through the stillness. Stay upstairs. What if something was already inside? What if whatever lurked outside had found a way in? Panic clawed at her sanity, each thought fracturing her resolve. And then she heard it again, a low hum, weaving between the trees, a child's lullaby. It was one her mother used to sing, sweet yet chilling. Lisa's heart thundered in defiance against the horror. She refused to be lured away. But dread was a cunning enemy. One moment of distraction, and she felt it. A breath, warm against her neck. Her stomach twisted. Invoking a primal surge of rage, she spun around, fists clenched. Nothing. The shadows danced in mocking silence. That stillness, heavy and suffocating, wrapped around her like the winter chill on a deserted street. Swallowing her fear, she whispered to herself, "It's not real. There's nothing here." But the darkness felt alive, as if it thrummed with anticipation. She moved slowly back toward the house, each step taking her further from the haunting lullaby that echoed in her ears. Relief was just a few steps away. It beckoned to her like a flickering lamp in a storm. Just as she reached for the door, she felt it again. A shadowed figure, threading through the trees. Panic crashed over her as the image sharpened, tall, dark, hooded, no face. Just an outline moving unnaturally, too deliberate. "Stop!" she shouted, voice louder than intended, reverberating against the walls. The figure paused, its attention snapping toward her, and for a moment, the night held its breath. Lisa dove inside, slamming the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. Her heart raced as she backed away, the sound of her blood thrumming in her ears. Had she imagined it? No. She couldn't shake the feeling. That was real. The way it had moved. Almost liquid, a malevolence that sought her out. It was like shadows were alive, and they had eyes. Rushing back to the living room, she grabbed the baby monitor, scanning for any sign of Emily's soft breaths. But tension knotted in the pit of her stomach when she realized the soft cooing had vanished. Emily. The name ripped from her, a desperate plea. The monitor remained silent. She dashed upstairs, each step a battle against the weight of fear. The hallway loomed before her, dark and echoing. Pausing outside the bedroom door, she steeled herself. Swallowing her terror, she pushed the door open. It was empty. Lisa's mind raced. Had she misplaced time? Had she forgotten to put her daughter down for the night? No. She would never forget. But the question clawed at her, where was Emily? In that moment, dread morphed into sheer panic. The veil of safety she had erected around her daughter now felt tattered and frail. Outside, the shadows shifted again, and from the depths of that darkness came another haunting whisper, one that chilled her to the core. "She's with me now." The world beyond the door snapped into focus, a stark realization dawning in Lisa's mind. It was not just the Watcher, something else was at play, something far more sinister, and time was running out. The true horror awaited just outside her door, and Lisa could only pray she wasn't too late. As she stood frozen, stricken with fear, the darkened window of Mr. Thompson's house caught her attention once more. Was it merely coincidence? Or were lines drawn in the night, shadows watching, manipulating threads that tied their fates together? Every heartbeat echoed in her ears as she prepared for what lay ahead. The truth was slipping through her fingers, and in this town where every face could hide a monster, she had to act before it was too late. But what if the real monster was closer than she had ever imagined? Lisa's breath came in quick, shallow gasps as her heart pounded against her ribs. The silence was deafening, pierced only by the sound of her pulse in her ears. She turned away from the empty room, dread wrapping tighter around her like a vice. Emily's absence was a void, an echo that haunted the corners of her mind. Emily. She called again, the name heavy on her tongue. But the house remained unresponsive, the walls absorbing her fear instead of offering comfort. What had happened? Where could her daughter be? Without thinking, she turned towards the stairs again. The baby monitor lay on the floor, its screen cracked but still flickering weakly. It felt like a lifeline, and she snatched it up, desperately willing it to crackle with her daughter's soft coos. But the static hissed back, menacing and hollow. The sound slammed into her like an icy wave, leaving her breathless, racing down the hall. She noticed the window again. The darkness outside felt hungry, like it was vying for her attention. Shadows blurred and twisted, morphing into shapes that seemed to watch her closely. It was as if they thrived on her fear, feeding off the uncertainty that gnawed at her insides. Then she remembered Mr. Thompson's house. He had always been a strange figure in the neighborhood, shrouded in odd rumors and unsettling whispers. Everyone avoided his gaze, but she had never understood why until now. What if he knew something? What if he was involved? The thought made her heart race even faster. The various tales she had brushed off as mere gossip paled in comparison to the reality crashing in on her like a tidal wave. The whispers of children going missing. Families torn apart with no explanation. She had to find Emily. Lisa rushed down the creaking stairs, her feet barely touching the ground. Every fiber of her being screamed for her to lock the door and call for help, but she pushed those thoughts aside. In the pit of her gut, she knew she had to confront her fears, and it was out there, waiting. The back door felt unusually cold when she reached for it, as if warning her of the dangers that lay beyond. She hesitated, recalling the shadow, the figure that had watched her quietly through the darkness. But there was no time for second-guessing now. Taking a deep breath, she flung open the door, the cold night air slapping her face like a waking slap. Outside, it was almost too quiet. The world around her felt suspended in a moment of tense anticipation. Shadows darted between the trees, dancing just beyond the reach of the weak light spilling from the house. New fright coursed through her as she stepped out, scanning the yard frantically. Emily. The name was a shriek, torn from her lungs. She looked toward the trees, and that S when she heard it again, the lullaby. It weaved through the air, soft but sinister. Lisa's stomach twisted. Drawing on every ounce of courage she had, she moved toward the sound, each step heavy with uncertainty. As she crept forward, straining to hear the melodic echoes better, she spotted a shape nestled near the base of the tallest tree. Relief shot through her. Could it be? But as she drew closer, that hope dissolved, morphing into horror. The figure wasn't small and innocent, it was wrong. In the dim light, she could see it was hunched, its back jagged with sharp movements. It turned as she approached, and her breath caught. The face was obscured by darkness, but the hollow, glinting eyes stared back at her with a frightening intensity, imploring, "Join us." Panic gripped her heart as the shadows flickered around it, almost alive, reaching out as if inviting her to cross over. "Emily!" she cried again, hands reaching out in desperation. The figure recoiled in a way that sent a shudder through Lisa's soul, a haunting laughter echoing back to her, echoing, yet eerily familiar, and then she saw it. Past the figure, small hands reaching toward her, her daughter's voice blending with the lullaby, a chilling melody that sent waves of anguish rippling through the air. "Mommy!" The earth beneath her seemed to crumble away. Everything she feared slamming together like a storm, and in that frantic moment, Lisa realized she stood at a precipice. What if Emily was already lost to this darkness? The choice lay before her, but the shadows grew closer, enveloping her feet. Would she leap into the unknown or succumb to despair? As she hovered at the edge of that decision, the world around her shifted and writhed, and in that moment, she understood this nightmare was only just beginning. "Help me," the whisper clawed through the air again, but now it belonged to the figure as it beckoned her forward further into the abyss. And in the distance, a faint sound, like laughter, erupted into the night. Was it Emily? Or the very entity that sought to trap them both? The answer hung in the air, chilling her to the bone. Lisa's heart pounded like a drum, drowning out everything but the heartbeat of terror echoing in her ears. The darkness pressed against her, heavy and thick, as an unnatural wind whisked past, chilling her to the bone. She instinctively took a step back, her chest tightening in fear, a primal instinct screaming at her to run. "Mommy, help me!" The voice drifted closer, twisted now, as if echoing from deep within a dark, watery abyss. It felt wrong, a distortion that scraped against her nerves. "Emily!" She howled, desperately searching the shadows, her lungs burning with panic. Every instinct screamed for her to turn away, to flee. But another force tugged at her, anchoring her feet to the frozen ground. The figure before her twisted in the low light, revealing just enough. It was no longer human, not really. Its skin shimmered under the waning moonlight like oiled leather, each jagged movement further unhinging her sanity. The laughter swelled, sharp and unyielding, burrowing into Lisa's skull as if to drown out her thoughts. "Join us!" The whisper was more of a caress, brushing against her skin, igniting a chill that spread across her arms. The shadows around her seemed to thrum, vibrating with energy, ready to pounce, ready to claim her. "Where is my daughter?" Lisa pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. It was drowned out by the voice of the figure, a mockery that twisted the air into knots. "Only together can we be whole. Join us!" With each pulse of the figure's words, the shadows behind it came alive, disjointed limbs and faces emerging from the darkness, his dark companions swirling with sinister intent. They closed in around her, hungry, desperate for her surrender. Catching sight of tiny fingers still stretching toward her in a pool of shadow, Lisa's resolve hardened. She couldn't let this be it. Gathering her wits, she summoned the strength hidden deep within. "Emily!" She felt a sudden surge of hope, something to cling to against the overwhelming dread. As if sensing her newfound defiance, the figure lunged forward, its hand like a claw, reaching for her, intent on pulling her into that twisted darkness. Lisa stumbled back, her heart racing as she spun and ran toward the trees, desperation fueling her every movement. Branches whipped against her face, tearing at her skin, but the pain was nothing compared to the gnawing terror of what chased her. She could still hear the sinister laughter echoing in the night, taunting her helpless flight, mocking her every anguished breath. Suddenly, she broke free from the trees, bursting into a small clearing lit by an eerie glow. There, in the center, she found it a decrepit old swing set swaying slightly, as if brushed by invisible hands. Each creak was a haunting whisper, echoing with memories of joy and innocence. Desperation surged within her as she moved closer, her eyes darting, looking for any sign of Emily. And then she heard it again, the lullaby. But this time, it was different. It felt warm, like sunlight peeking through gray clouds, wrapping around her as it pulled her in. "Mommy, over here." The voice sounded softer, still eerie but now infused with longing. "Emily." Lisa's own voice cracked, carrying her through the thick mist that seemed to envelop her. She rushed to the swing set, fueled by the warmth that seemed to beckon her. The shadowy figure lurked just outside the perimeter of that soft glow, warping and flickering like a flame. "Step into the light," it hissed, "and discover the truth." Lisa's breath hitched, it felt like stepping off a cliff into an unfathomable abyss. But was it worth the risk? What awaited her on the other side? The invisible tug-of-war of fear and hope battled viciously within her. As she hesitated, the shadows began to pull closer, coiling around her ankles, whispering promises laced with dread. She had to make a choice now. Did she dive into the warmth, the chance to save her daughter, or succumb to the darkness that threatened to consume them both. The figure's laughter reverberated through the night as she stood on the brink. And then, the laughter stopped. An unsettling silence fell between them. Something shifted in the air. Choose. The whisper came, more urgent now, before it's too late. With that eerie ultimatum hanging in the balance, Lisa understood she was at a crossroads. What had she truly awakened by descending into this nightmare? The answer loomed ahead, just out of reach. Lisa's heart raced as the stillness swallowed her whole. It felt as though the ground beneath her quaked in anticipation. She glanced back at the twisted figure, which seemed to pulse in the dark like a dying star, its silhouette throbbing with hunger. Those gaping eyes, void of warmth, bore into her, promising nothing but despair. "Mommy!" Emily's cry cut through the silence, invigorating Lisa's resolve. But the sound twisted within the gloom, melding with the whispers that danced through the air, fueling the shadow's encroachment. Lisa's choices spun before her like a carousel of horrors. The light's softness held the promise of hope, while the darkness beckoned with an unsettling familiarity. In that moment, it felt almost like a promise of belonging. What was waiting in the light? What price would she have to pay for Emily? The coiling tendrils of shadow surged closer still, brushing against her skin with icy fingers. "Join us," they chanted, the words slithering into her ears, caressing her mind like a lover's kiss. "No. I won't." The words erupted from her, defiance igniting a spark in her chest. She felt the warmth of Emily's voice clash against the cold embrace of the darkness. But suddenly, a flicker of doubt surged, a nagging thought. What if she was the shadow that had come to reclaim her child? A wave of confusion washed over her. What if she didn't rescue Emily, but instead freed the very horror seeking her? "Mommy, please. I'm scared." Emily's voice turned wretched, pulled into a muffled sob that echoed against the walls of her mind. Without thinking, Lisa lunged toward the swing set, hands outstretched. "I'm coming, Emily. I'll find you." The ethereal glow brightened, pulling her forward, and for a heartbeat, she felt the shadows flinch, recoiling as if stung. But it wasn't enough. The figure's laughter resumed, a cacophony of dread, and the shadows surged forth, clawing for her. She could no longer hear Emily, just the echoes of the dark. "No!" Her voice shattered the air. She wasn't bound to this nightmare. Not if there was a chance for her daughter. As the shadows enveloped her ankles, her heels dug into the earth. The grip of an unseen force pressed at her sides as if the darkness sought to swallow her whole. Desperation twisted in her stomach, and she clawed at the air, feeling the weight of her choices pressing down, heavy and inescapable. Then she saw it on the edge of chaos. A flicker of color sparked. A tiny hand breaking through the shadows, glistening like light cutting through the dark. "Mommy!" Every piece of her screamed to leap toward that hand, but the shadows tightened, seizing her. As she fought against their mayhem, she felt the fabric of the night stretch like a thin veil. With one final cry, Lisa pushed through, wrestling against the dark with raw power. "I won't lose you, Emily." As she broke free, the world warped around her. She stumbled forward, and the air cracked with an eruption of energy. Light cascaded against her, and suddenly she was standing in a field, the swing set gone, replaced by an expanse of endless night. But the laughter had faded. In the distance, amidst the swirling hues of twilight, she glimpsed a figure, the unmistakable outline of her daughter, standing still, staring at her with wide eyes that glistened like moons. "Mommy!" But before she could call back, a rumbling voice echoed behind her. "You've made your choice." The shadows shifted again, forming a monstrous figure that loomed over her. "Did you think escaping would be that simple?" Panic flared in Lisa's chest as the figure stretched its arms wide, darkening the evening sky. Just when she thought she was free, everything began to dissolve into a tempest of shadows and screams. What awaited her as she faced this new horror? Would she uncover the truth or lose everything she loved forever? The darkness wrapped around Lisa like a suffocating blanket, pressing in from all sides. The air thickened, turning stale, each breath a labor against an unseen weight. She turned slowly, channeling every ounce of resolve to face the figure looming behind her. The creature, a nightmare made flesh, unfurled with a predatory grace, its form shifting like a ripple in dark water. "Did you think you could escape?" It sneered, voice like gravel scraping against bone. Each syllable licked at her sanity, reminding her that the abyss was never truly far, it was here, ready to swallow her whole. The figure stretched its long, claw-like fingers, the tips glinting with malicious anticipation in the dim light. "Where is Emily?" she shouted, her voice a fragile echo swallowed by the vacuous space. The shadows twisted in response, pulling taut against her, further constricting her as if eager to snuff out her defiance. "Emily," the creature mocked, its eyes like infinite wells of despair. "She is where you could have been if you had chosen wisely." Lisa felt a chill scour through her. The weight of that statement clung to her, binding her to the spot with fear. "No. I want to let you take my daughter." In her mind, she could see Emily's face vulnerable and terrified. With a fierce cry, Lisa lunged toward the receding light in the distance. Every sense screamed at her, the shadows whispered threats, the figure behind her growled in anger, and her heart thundered in her chest like a wild beast. If she could just reach that glow, maybe she could pull Emily back from the brink. "I will save you, baby," she called, forcing her legs to move through the thickening darkness. But every step felt like wading through molasses, the darkness thickening around her, weighing her down. The creature laughed, an eerie sound that paralyzed her. "Submit to the shadows, Lisa. They will keep you warm. They will keep you safe. You know the truth already, you belong here." Each word sank deep into her, stirring an insidious doubt. What if it was right? The shadows danced, beckoning her closer, promising protection in a world torn apart. But then she heard it again, Emily's voice, a soft, desperate plea that shattered the calm facade the creature tried to cast. "Mommy." That sound cracked through her hesitation, sparking a reservoir of strength. Lisa turned, desperation igniting her forward motion once more. As she raced toward her daughter, the shadows retaliated. They lashed out like whips, slashing across her skin, leaving trails of icy fire. "Foolish girl." The creature swirled, advancing swiftly. "You cannot save her. You never will." A shudder coursed through her. The weight of its words thudded like a relentless war drum in her brain. Just a few feet away, Emily stood, glowing faintly against the tapestry of night, a lifeline in this hellish realm. "Come to me." Emily's voice sparkled like hope, shimmering amidst the darkness. Lisa would not falter, would not give in. She bolted forward, the world blurring around her, shadows clawing desperately at her heels, trying to pull her back. As she reached for Emily, the fabric of the night shifted once more, stretching and flickering like a dying flame. Then there was light, searing and radiant, blasting her senses. The creature's roar of rage drowned in the explosion, engulfed by the brilliance. But as Lisa arrived, reaching out with trembling fingers, she felt the darkness writhe behind her, coiling like a serpent poised to strike. "Don't look back," Emily whispered, her eyes wide with fear but shining with reassurance. "You have to believe." The pulse of the moment hung in the air, the shadows writhing in confusion around them. She felt the very fabric of reality groan beneath the struggle of their opposing forces. What would happen if she chose wrongly now? If the shadows weren't done yet, if this wasn't truly the end? Then came the silence, thick and foreboding, as if the world paused, just before the inevitable storm returned. "Choose." The monstrous voice thundered behind her. Would she turn back? Would she face the darkness once again? Or could she step into the blinding light, whatever that might mean? The moment teetered on a knife's edge as freedom and despair danced tantalizingly close. Which path would she take? The pulse of time stretched like a taut wire. Lisa stood at the precipice of choice, every instinct clawing at her to break free from the darkness behind her. The shadows writhed and twisted, a living tapestry of dread, and the creature's furious growl reverberated through her bones. "Do you see what you're losing?" It spat, venom lacing its words. "This is your chance to join the dark. To feel complete." "No!" she screamed, the defiance hardening in her chest. Light beckoned, radiant and warm, like a forgotten sun. She could see beyond the barrier, the promise of salvation reflected in her daughter's fearful gaze. Each heartbeat pulsed with a desperate rhythm, urging her forward. Lisa lunged, her hand outstretched, fingers brushing the edge of the blinding glow. "Trust me. I'm right here," Emily called, her voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon, but then, raw and primal, the shadows struck back, coiling fiercely around Lisa's ankles, dragging her back with insatiable hunger. She could feel them clawing at her skin, their icy tendrils slipping under her clothes, biting through to her very soul. Panic surged, a tidal wave threatening to drown her will. No! Not now! She fought against it, summoning every ounce of strength within her. The light pulsed, a heartbeat synchronized with her own, and for a second, she felt an unbreakable bond connecting her to Emily. "I won't leave you." With a primal scream, Lisa tore herself free from the shadows, eyes locked onto Emily's. She felt the darkness tear at her like ravenous wolves, relentless and dreadful. But with each step toward her daughter, she felt the oppressive weight of dread weakening. The creature bellowed, furious, attempting to drag her back with its dark magic. "Look at your little girl," it roared. "She will suffer because of your choice." Lisa's heart clenched, but she held her ground. That was exactly the fear the creature wanted her to embrace. What kind of mother would she be if she didn't fight with everything she had to save her own child? "I trust you, Mommy." Emily's voice rang out, crystalline in the chaos. "Please." In that moment, Lisa embodied her unyielding love, letting it bloom within her like the brightest star igniting the night. She stepped into the light fully, arms wide as if to embrace the very essence of hope. "Emily." As her hand grasped Emily's, warmth enveloped them, infusing the air with golden energy that pushed the darkness back. The creature shrieked, its form distorting and unraveling like a frayed thread, veins of shadow splintering, screeching against the blinding light, but as the darkness receded, vulnerability sprang forth with an agonizing twist. The remnants of the shadowy figure clutched at both mother and daughter desperately, dragging them back, threatening to sever their connection. "Together, we are stronger," Emily shouted, her small hand tightening around Lisa's. Lisa felt the fire surge, strengthening the light against the encroaching darkness. As the shadows roiled and twisted, they uncovered something buried far beneath, a secret that sent icy fingers of dread creeping down Lisa's spine. From the depths of the black, whispers invaded her mind. "You think it can protect you? It will only reveal the truth of your past." The shadows churned, revealing images that clawed at her soul. Dark memories she didn't want to face but couldn't escape. Shadows of choices long made, betrayals, lost loves, moments of weakness. The darkness knew her intimately, using her fears to undermine her into submission. "No!" she gasped, pulling Emily closer. "I refuse to succumb." "Mommy, we can fight it," Emily cried, her spirit ablaze. But could they? As the echoes of their choices reverberated through the darkness, Lisa's resolve flickered. The shadows reformulated, growing stronger. They surged forward, hungry, ghostly hands reaching. Suddenly, a blinding flare of light pulsed between them, shifting the very fabric of reality. Lisa could feel the tug of the past pressing down upon her. "What will you sacrifice to break free?" The creature's voice taunted. The moment expanded, stretching impossibly as Lisa began to realize that sometimes, in order to save someone, you might just lose yourself in the process. "Believe, Lisa." Emily's cry filled the air. And then, as the shadows surged at them again, devastatingly close, Lisa was left with a choice that could mean life or an eternal suffocation in darkness. In that critical heartbeat, time hung what would happen next. Would she finally choose? The shadows loomed, and destiny beckoned. The shadows roared around them, a tempest of despair threatening to collapse into a suffocating darkness. Lisa clutched Emily's small hand tighter, anchoring herself as visions blitzed through her mind, images flashing and morphed, showcasing the painful decisions of her past, the devastating arguments, her heart turned to stone, loves lost to shadows that whispered lies. "Stay with me," she shouted, fighting against the surging tide, adrenaline pumping in her veins. Each moment felt like a lifetime, and the creature's choking laughter echoed in her ears. The illumination around them pulsed, flickering as if it could die like a candle at the mercy of storm winds. "Your choice will bring only pain," it growled, shadows weaving new forms, the silhouettes of people once cherished, faces twisted in agony, eyes pleading. It was a monstrous game. The monster wanted her to forget her strength, to sink into despair. "No!" Lisa screamed again, her own voice reverberating through the chaos. "Listen, Mommy," Emily urged, her voice cut through the clamor. "Focus on us." Images of Emily, smiling her first birthday, their laughter in brighter days raced through Lisa's mind. Hope flared in her chest. With every ounce of resolve, she pushed back against the roiling mass of insecurity. "I won't give up. I will not let you win." With those words, Lisa felt a new surge of energy emanating from within her, one fortified by love and fierce determination. The light intensified, illuminating the oppressive darkness as if driven by her will. The creature shrieked, its ethereal form unraveling further as the shadows recoiled, but just as quickly, it lunged forward, slashing hands tearing at the light with fervor. Pain shot through Lisa as cold dread clawed at her heart, echoes of her past reverberating loudly. "Mommy, why did you leave me?" A haunting voice whispered, clawing at the depths of her being. Lisa's breath quickened, and a cold sweat slicked her palms. "I was trying to protect you," she shouted, voice trembling. Her heart raced as she fought against the darkness closing in, the sorrow from the memories heavy on her chest. "Mommy, please. You can't listen to it." Emily's voice broke through, a reminder of their bond. Lisa braced herself, forcing the images of despair away as rage burned within her. "I choose my daughter. I choose hope." The light swelled, flickering against the dark chaos, illuminating the hope that wove through the shadows. And with that proclamation, something shifted. The shadows screamed, buckling under the surging warmth, retreating just a fraction, but the creature snarled, anger radiating from every twisted shadow. "You have no idea what you're unleashing," it hissed, voice like ice, slithering through the air. "You will only doom her." "No. I'm strong enough." In that heartbeat, as if for a brief moment, reality felt malleable. The shadows receded, then surged again, wrapping around Emily's small frame, desperate for the light. "Mommy!" she cried, fear breaking across her face. Lisa's heart shattered, she could feel the darkness drawing closer, tightening its grip like a vice. "Emily!" Panic twisted through Lisa, a scream bubbling to her lips, but determination pushed it back down. For her daughter, she would never give in. With every ounce of her being, she envisioned the golden warmth, the purity of the light they had shared, and leaned into it. The shadows howled, retreating before her fierce belief, but knew they couldn't break as darkness cunningly interrogated her deepest fears. The more they lost ground, the fiercer their assault became, probing cracks in her emotional defenses, biting back pain. Lisa grabbed Emily, pulling her close, but it wasn't just a physical connection. It was a soul bond, one that rekindled her spirit like a spark igniting dry leaves. "Remember the good, sweetheart? We're stronger together. We'll beat this. Together, Mommy. Together forever." As they locked their eyes, something shifted again. The creature howled more urgently now, fury mixing with fear, the form blurring into a horrifying amalgamation of all it had been, and all it wished to become. Then, with one last desperate rush, it lunged for them. Time stretched, sound froze. Will you sacrifice everything to protect the one you love? Lisa's chest tightened, the question echoing. Did she have enough left to silence the darkness once and for all? In that moment, everything hung in the balance. Would she risk it all? What would this sacrifice mean in the end? The light pulsed one last time, teetering on the brink of obliteration, and Lisa had to decide. Would she be the warrior, or would the shadows prevail? Lisa's heart raced, a relentless drum echoing in her chest. She clutched Emily tightly, feeling the weight of the darkness pressing in. The flickering light surrounding them pulsed with the beats of their hearts, but the shadows were restless, surging closer, eager to reclaim their hold. Mommy! Don't let them take me. Emily's voice trembled, a crystal-clear reminder of everything she fought for. I won tea. Lisa shouted, the fire igniting within her. No longer just a mother, she was a warrior. Not now, not ever. With every ounce of strength she had left, she poured her essence into the light, a force of love and fierce determination that surged from her core, spilling into the space around them. The shadows recoiled, hissing like serpents agitated by the sun. But they were relentless, twisting and writhing, inching closer, whispering horrible promises of safety within their embrace. Join us, Lisa, it's easier this way. The creature's voice slithered through the air, muffled but insistent, wrapping around her thoughts like a vice. Don't you want to protect her? Don't be selfish. Fury ignited in her gut. I choose hope. I choose my daughter. The light exploded with a brilliance that resonated through the murky depths of despair. The creature shrieked, its shrill voice breaking through the ominous growls of the night. The shadows faltered, swirling in chaotic patterns, as though they were alive yet tethered to her emotional upheaval. I want to let fear control us. Lisa roared, pushing against the entity that loomed over them, shadows swirling around like frenzied wolves. Emily's eyes shone with unwavering trust, her little frame framed as a beacon of innocence and resilience. Mommy, I believe in you. In that moment, something inside Lisa clicked. It wasn't just about saving her daughter, it was about taking that little girl's hand and choosing to actively fight the darkness even when it felt impossible. Life had taught her many lessons, but this one crystallized. Courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was facing it head-on. As the shadows crashed against them once more, she felt Emily's small hand shake in hers, but it wasn't fear that thrummed through their connection, it was strength. Clutching tighter, Lisa witnessed waves of warmth radiate between them, a nexus of love ignited by sheer willpower. Almost instinctively, she turned toward the dim flicker of light ahead. The vision of a world beyond the darkness beckoned her, one filled with laughter, one where she and Emily thrived. We're breaking free. She shouted defiantly. The shadows screeched in anger, lashing out, but they couldn't keep up with the surge of raw power ignited by their bond. Together. Emily echoed, her voice steady, reverberating in the air like a rallying cry. With renewed vigor, they surged forward, hand in hand. Light splintered and crackled as if reality itself fought against the darkness. For every step they took, the shadows cowered, retreating back under the relentless illumination emanating from within. Lisa's breath quickened as hope bloomed, moment after moment tearing away the tendrils of despair. They reached the threshold of light, a blinding radiance enveloping them, and with one final leap, they broke free from the clutches of darkness. The world brightened in a flash, overwhelming in its beauty. Crickets chirped their late-night songs, stars twinkled like diamonds against the deep indigo sky, and the air shimmered with life. Yet, Lisa's heart fluttered in triumph, eyes darting to the familiar forms of their neighbors bustling through their yards. None seemed aware of what had transpired, like shadows that faded under the bright sun. Mr. Thompson's South dark house loomed close, but Lisa felt none of the apprehension she once had. We did it. Emily squealed, laughter dancing on her lips like a melody, a stark contrast to the haunting lullaby that had almost claimed her. Lisa knelt down, wrapping her arms around her daughter. You were so brave, honey. I'm so proud of you. She planted kisses on Emily's forehead, tears of relief spilling softly. As they held each other, the sun slowly began to rise, casting a warm golden hue across their neighborhood. The shadows that had once seemed so threatening now faded into memories, remnants of a darker time. Hand in hand, they stepped into the warm glow of the new day. The nightmares were behind them, but their bond had solidified, a fortress forged from love, ready to face whatever comes next. Lisa looked down at her daughter, heart swelling with newfound courage. Always. Emily beamed, her innocence a bright lantern against the darkness of yesterday. Together, they walked down the path, leaving behind the shadows. The road before them unfurled, vibrant with endless possibilities, ready to embrace the dawn. And for the first time in a long time, Lisa felt free. Now, if you enjoyed that gripping conclusion, you need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Only true fans understand the importance of this channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the story coming. And I want you to flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. It helps us connect. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.